Welcome to Rauta's Slavic Black Metal time. This time we have a very special packaging for me to unbox, unsleeve maybe, the better word for it, because we have a couple of vinyl ones. Mind you, this is one and the same release. One CD, two vinyl. So, thank you very much to the band in question. It's a Polish, pagan black metal band. Very folky at times, very black metal most of the times, and indeed very Slavic. There are a bunch of names I will soon show to you on Metal Archives as similar artists. Some of them are more correct, some of them are more stretched in a way. But first, let's unsleeve these beauties. As said, the band was really kind enough to send me 3 different versions of the given release. This is 2024 release, if I'm not mistaken. So here we have all 3 different formats. Thank you so much to the band in question. Let's hope this is worth their time and money and everything. It's definitely worth my time and my pleasure to do all this. So let's unsleeve the vinyl first. As you can see, here is the beautiful cover image featuring what I would assume a Slavic warrior on a horse, and there is his weapon. There is the title, kruki. I don't know how to pronounce really. Here is the band name, Bialy Vitez, which is White Knight, and their own logo, kind of a medieval bird with a herald of swords. Here is the background for the given vinyl. As you can see, track list, lineup, and guests. These are very important. If you're old school as me, you know that back in the 80s and the 90s, reading guest lists, thank you lists and all was very important in order to find about new bands, their connection and all that stuff. Now all redundant so many ways and during the internet years, but this kind of stuff is the old school fashion. I gotta really like it. Then we open it because it's gatefold. So let's hide my head and you can focus on the art. So as you can see, pretty nice looking battlefield image here with the raven and all that stuff. Actually, if I got the translation correct, which is never very certain with translation tools, this means as the ravens fly. As if you have any knowledge of, how certain pagan religions see it, pagan faiths, including Viking ones, they are certain like symbols of death sometimes, or bearer of knowledge and all that stuff, but related to, the deceased and all. Now, deceased like death, not, ridden with disease. I don't know why I'm even explaining this, but let's not get too seriously here. So let's unsleeve the other vinyl. This is the same vinyl, as you can pretty much see, but this is more, this has this more kind of a print. I think it's whatever it's called. I can't really, somehow etched. And this one has a feather, real nice detail here. So this is a special version of the same vinyl. But my point here is the art is the same. There are just a little bit of differences. Is it called etched when you have that kind of a 3D feel to it? And this comes with a color. I guess we can call it here, for the lack of better word for it, golden brown. So a little bit yellowish, ochreish, I guess, ochra, some languages. Let's put these on the side. So you can see a regular black vinyl for the more traditional one, then the one with the feather and kind of a golden yellow brownish for the collectors, and then finally CDs for those who are not that much fan of given vinyl presentation and those who want it to get easy and, I don't know, more modern. I'm always a little bit, divided when it comes to these different formats. CD is easier to play. Some would say digital is even better, but I don't know. It's a little bit different. And then, of course, vinyl is more for touchy-feely thingy, but not the most easy to play. Once again, here we have the herald, the bird, and then finally some lyrical content. Now obviously this is in Polish, so not that easy to read unless you go for, of course, these English versions, in which case it gets a little bit easier, right? So both languages are here presented, which is of course very, very nice for us who are not fluent in Polish. So you have also the song titles translated. So this is always kind of a super nice when bands do that, even if they sing with their native language, which is not often, as you know, English. It's very, very nice that they include translations. So this is what you get in case you're investing your money into getting one of these beautiful pieces of musical art from pagan, Slavic pagan lands and all. So here finally we have the band's Metal Archive site, and as you can see, this was founded 20 years ago in Gdansk, or Danzig, like some people say, 2005, and ever since they started the proper old school way. First a couple of demos and 10 moving on. And in my opinion, this is the right marching order. You start with the demos, you kind of feel what you're gonna do with the music and stuff. Then you move splits or EPs, which is always also a good way to tread the water before you move on to doing albums. So 10 years later, they have the first album, and then 2023, not 2024 as I remember incorrectly, they finally had the second album out. So 18 years in the making, which is quite a lot of time, but then again, gotta understand that sometimes creating art takes time, especially when people are getting older and there are all kind of stuff going on. So this, tam gdzie, odlatuja, kruki, I don't even try to pronounce it properly, I just go with the gut feel. It's about 42 minutes, and here it is listed as Werewolf Promotions. But if you look at these versions, I had different labels, so let's go with that. And finally, the cover art, once again, the Slavic warrior riding into the battle with horn and sword. And yeah, I like it. Really, really, really nice old school feel to this cover. It's a beautiful one also, and also gives you a kind of idea what to expect. Now, remember when I promised to mention some of the similar artists so you get to already feel what this is all about. I cannot say I know them all, but say Nocturnal Mortem definitely rings the similar bell in my ears, even though this is less symphonic, definitely, than what they are, well, at least on some albums. But this black folk metal thing is very, very much what's going on here. And here it is listed as pagan folk metal. Now, pagan metal is sometimes, more often than not, a subgenre of black metal. So some bands might definitely feel less blackish in terms of how the music sounds, but then again, I also feel like this pagan metal thing is not really defining as much musically as it is with the, you know, black metal. And of course, I missed something which I realized when I was talking to you. In case you may, I wonder why I made a mistake. I didn't look into the sleeve. So here you have a poster with the band lineup. Once again, this herald with the bird on the background, as well as lyrics here as a big ass sheet. So how this came to my mind? Well, obviously reading the CD, booklet showing it to you and figured out, God damn it, I didn't take a look at the sleeve. So hopefully I managed to unbox every item here sent to me, so I'm not missing anything crucial here. So now we can finally talk about the music. So as I mentioned, Nocturnal Mortem comes to my mind when we're talking about the music in question. That should already tell you a little bit what to expect musically. Yes, happier folky tunes, kind of a medieval setting, and very Slavic take. Then you have Temnotsor, which I never actually listened to, so I only know it by name, but I mean, I have listened to some album back in the years, but I don't even remember how it sounded, so it would be a little bit pretentious for me to start comparing. Then you have Greyland and Kroda. And to a certain degree, yeah, there are similarities, but I would say they are more maybe in the sense of mindset. Or maybe some later era Graveland, which I never got to properly listen to so much than early Graveland works, might be resonating. My point here once again is, even if you compare it to a band like Rauta, which is not wrong, or Nocturnal Mortem, definitely not wrong, don't expect it to be exactly similar. I mean, there are similarities. Like for instance, when this Bialy Vitez combines these folkier parts to their black metal stuff. It's almost like you take the somewhat crude and grim and raw black metal and then you marry it to more folkier parts with a very, very Slavic touch. You have like those clean vocals and everything where it sounds kind of a very, very folk metal like. And then you move on back to this raw end of black metal, and that's how the twists and turns are making. There are some melodic parts which then again kind of lessens the raw feeling what this might have. Technically speaking, the sound is not super raw, but it's not exactly the cleanest and nicest and overly produced big band things. So this goes in a way between the raw end of black metal and the more sophisticated and nice sounding big ass production when it comes to the music. And then when you have those cleaner vocals, it gets easier for the less extreme metal fans. But make no mistake, this is black metal in its very core, even with those lighter parts. When it comes to vocals, they're actually a combination of grunting and somewhat semi-death metal kind of takes. So not your typical black metal vocals with raspy, shrieky takes. Think about more like Clandestine Blazes vocals, where it's more like somewhere between black metal and death metal. So not exactly growling, not exactly raspy, but somewhere between. And that's roughly what you get for this album as well. But the similarities with Clandestine Blaze and Bialy Vitez and pretty much of that, because these are very, very different. So once again, more like the vocals from that department, then combining that with Rauta, Nocturnal Mortum, maybe a little bit later era Graveland, and you have roughly an idea what this is going on. Some parts are obviously more high tempo, but there are also parts where it's just kind of gets more mid-tempo-ish, and as such kind of emphasizes once again the more folkier part of things. So calling this pagan folk metal indeed is very, very correct, just as long as you keep your mind set what pagan metal means in this context, because there are lots of bands which don't sound black metal at all. I mean, think about, like, for instance, Amon Amarth. Technically speaking, it's melodic death metal, but it's also very, very much like Viking metal with the themes and all. You wouldn't really call it Viking metal or pagan metal in that sense. Or then you take like Bathory's Hammerheart, Viking metal, pagan metal, folk metal. You can just keep adding those tags, but it doesn't mean that they are defining the music as such. So my point here is, when you're thinking this kind of pagan folk metal, think it from the black metal perspective, and you have got it going on. Now, musically, I gotta say, these folk metal parts are almost like too much for me. It's not like they bother me, but it's more like where they lose the focus, the momentum with the more raw end. Then again, they also create a certain level of, say, diversity. So meaning this album doesn't sound like it has one track which is then multiplied by 8 times, and that's what you got here. Because this is rather compact rather than very epic with the 42 minutes and so, this is very, very easy to digest and want to go without getting bored. But I would say it still could have a little bit less of those folkier parts and a little bit more rough edge with their black metal. Overall, rather good recording, obviously, and as said, comes with a really, really beautiful packaging, especially with those vinyl ones, and even more so, especially with the collector's item with the feather and all. So in case I got you interested, now you know what to expect. Personally, if you come from pagan black metal fan base, there is no excuse why not to check this one out. I think this is a good addition to the Polish black metal legacy, which is big and very, very important part in North European or just European black metal context. So looking forward to hear these guys again when they have a new album out. Like I said, this is from 2023, so already more than a year old. But as the saying goes, music or art in general never gets old. It's more about just finding the right time to listen and enjoy it. So here you go. You have links included in the description box, so you can find their music online and you can find their social media pages in case you want to find some more information about it. Now off you go, do your homework, give it a listen, and I hope you like it. And if you don't, well, can always win. But buy it if you like it. Off you go. Bye bye.